Hi there and welcome to Hopcast Halfpint number 3, hashtag HP3. Is that a thing?
HP3.
Are we doing that? It's a bit rubbish, isn't it? This is September 2018's edition of the Halfpint. I don't know how it's September already.
It's nearly October to me.
It's crazy stuff. So I'm James.
I'm Adam.
And as ever, we have come together with the idea of having just 2 beers, which it was until Monday, and it subsequently became 3 beers, exactly the same as last month. So I think we just resign ourselves to the fact that the half pint will be 3 beers. So 3 beers, 10 minutes drinking each, and we'll talk about some kind of stuff that is happening in the Sheffield beer scene. Let's get straight into the first beer. It's been a long day. And this is a new beer from Thornbridge that involves 4 Pure, and it's not a can of Jaipur. So anyone that's been following beer news this week will know the big news was that there is now canned Jaipur. It's a thing. Are we going to show off a little bit now and point out that we were among the first people in the country, in the world, to have a can of Jaipur?
And I didn't drink it on that day.
I drank it within about 3.5 seconds of getting home. So that exists. However, this is not Jaipur that you are now pouring.
No, this is Fraser, which is a strawberry milkshake IPA, which is a collaboration between Thornbridge and 4 Pure.
So it's worth mentioning this is in a bottle, not in a can. And the link here, of course, is that the first cans of Jaipur have been canned at 4 Pure. I really struggle saying that. Who I think are kind of, they're fairly, certainly nationally renowned as being very good at kind of canning stuff for other breweries. So until Thornbridge have their own gear, then they're using 4 Pure. So I guess while they were there, kind of looking at the canning machine, they went, hey, should we make a beer together while we're here? And this is the net result. So it's a strawberry milkshake IPA.
It smells exactly like that sounds.
I've not had a sniff of it
yet.
yet. No, it does smell good. This is, in theory, right up my street in terms of the kind of beers that I tend to go for.
That's pretty nice.
Nice. Oh yeah. Yeah, definite. Strawberries coming through.
Yeah.
But it's a very natural kind of milkshakey kind of thing.
Yeah,
as
got
well.
kind of like sort of vanilla-y, sweet vanilla kind of sort of hint to it.
I've never been a huge fan of milkshakes, but I have previously had the strawberry milkshake from McDonald's.
I knew you were going to say that.
Many years ago, and it does, it kind of takes me back. It does taste like that.
But could you dip a chip in this? Because I think people like to dip chips into McDonald's milkshake.
Some people are just bad. We've just got to accept it. Some people are just wrong. There's some wrong uns out there.
Some wrong uns.
We could obviously talk about some news, and I don't think there's anywhere that we can really start other than the really sad news this week about the closure of the Sentinel Brewhouse. Now let's emphasise the fact that the Sentinel Brewery itself is going to continue in some form or another, but the brewhouse itself, the pub which is on, is it Shoreham Street?
Yep.
Is no more. And I've got to say, when I heard about this, I wasn't entirely surprised, because it has been troubled pretty much since day one, and it takes us back to, I think it was episode 2 of the Hopcast way back when we went to the brew house. We met with Alex, who's kind of the head brewer, and the kind of various other job titles in relation to that, and he acknowledged then the fact that it had been a troubled setup. They'd had obviously quite a bit of negative publicity about some of the stuff that had happened. Were you surprised at the news?
I feel like I've been going more recently than ever before, because I work basically on the back of it. So you kind of sort of, when you go in there more and you're seeing people in there and you're thinking, it's coming on, they're adding more days that we're open, longer hours, and then occasionally that would kind of stop and it go back and forward. I did quite enjoy that they'd started branching out into more monthly sort of takeovers. So we had like a month where they had lots of like Magic Rock on, they had months where they had like Siren beers on, and I thought, well, that's better, because that means that if you were going there more often, you weren't just drinking like Sentinel beers, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that having something different to go to, which kind of thought, well, that's going to start pulling people in. But yeah, all the things were documented at times, sort of thing. Something like 3 or 4 times the quote was for the actual the project, the cost of the project. They had a lot of cans stolen, I think that's what they say. And it's just I think obviously the time's taken its toll. They've obviously not got. They've obviously been looking for some sort of investment to kind of maybe push that forward, and that's not happened. It does kind of state in the letter, which you can find on Twitter and their Facebook, that the door's not closed essentially. But if someone wants to come and pick that up, then or if they find their feet, that area of Sheffield is developing, the cultural industries quarter. Yeah. In a few years' time, it's probably just bad timing really. That if they were a couple of years down the line, then maybe it'd be a different story altogether.
There's no logical reason for a bar that's been finished to quite a high level in the area that it's in not to succeed. It doesn't really make any sense. It's a great building, and it'd be really interesting to see what their plan is moving forward, because you would think, we've been there, that the actual brewery operation of it is a tiny little bit of that building really. Yeah. So you would think it would be unlikely or perhaps foolish if they were to start thinking, well, the brewery operation expands to the whole of that building. I can't see that as being a viable thing. You would think moving out of town to somewhere that's a lot cheaper would make sense, and it's not too difficult to kind of move the brewery stuff out there.
The one thing I thought was actually that now that they're forced to sell their beer to external pubs and bars, and does that now start developing the name as a good brewer, because they make very, very good. He's worked at Star Prom and he knows how to make a really good Czech Pilsner. Yep. Some of the keg stuff's really good. They tried their hands in some double IPAs this summer just gone. Yeah. And if people are going to have to start taking that beer on if that's going to succeed as a brewery, which means people are going to start seeing in pubs, other pubs, and maybe if that starts generating some more revenue, then see what happens, I suppose.
I think do you think that Sentinel got a reputation for being a little bit safe as a brewery? From their kind of early beers, and they've certainly branched out and done some different stuff. But is there a worry there that mud sticks a little bit, and that they're going to be always seeing as being a little bit more on the traditional side than kind of the way that the craft side's gone? We're drinking a beer by Thornbridge, who a few years ago they weren't particularly kind of pushing themselves into the kind of the sours area and some of the weird and wacky stuff that we all go out and buy now, but they adapted quite quickly and moved into that area, and I just wonder whether Sentinel are kind of seeing as being kind of those 4 or 5 real core beers, which are really, really good beers, don't get me wrong, but that's kind of what people think of when they think of Sentinel. And I'm not in any way suggesting that the brewery itself is at any kind of risk here, but just whether or not people kind of, when they thought about going there in terms of it being a pub, they just think, oh well, the Rutland's round the corner, they always have a more exciting range of beers on than a pub that's associated with that particular brewery that maybe just have that reputation as being a bit safe.
I think maybe doing things like I said, they do really good crafted lagers and things, so they did the Pils, and they did a couple of other ones that are quite similar. Obviously they've kind of done the cask range of your kind of gold beer and things like that. But they did an American Red, and they've done the Zest Fest, which is kind of a zesty kind of pale, sort of mid 4%, which is on cask and keg. I think when they first opened, I thought they were quite overpriced, considering you were buying beer from about 20 yards away from the bar. And that has significantly come down, and they were offering kind of the loyalty card scheme, which was knocking another 10% off. So that felt like they were going in the right direction. So maybe it's just what they've done is just not too little too little too late sort of thing, really. But so maybe like I said, he's a master brewer. He's very good at doing certain beers, and in the interview we talked about, even the extended one, which I think we've put out somewhere, that they were looking at doing the double versions of some of the different beers and things, but some of those obviously haven't come to fruition. But maybe they're just a bit too safe at this time of.
Maybe that kind of now, if they can refocus the business and just concentrate on brewing, that it gives them an opportunity to kind of really smash the beers that they make, rather than at the moment kind of being pulled in the direction of trying to make a success of what I'm reading between the lines. You kind of guess has been a losing battle pretty much since day one. The kind of, it's not that long ago they changed all their opening hours, and I've been since I've been working in Sheffield City Centre. I went once for a drink with someone at lunchtime on a Tuesday, and it wasn't open because obviously now they're open Monday and Tuesday. So you kind of it has been troubled since day one. now maybe it allows them to really focus on that one element of the business, which is just, doing a range of different beers and making a huge success of that. And I hope they do. Alex was a really great guy. It was brilliant to chat to him. He certainly knows his stuff when it comes to beer. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And I think probably we all wish them the very best of luck moving forward. Yeah. What about Fraser then? Is it Fraser?
Fraser, yeah, which is basically that's Spanish for strawberry.
Strawberry, I think it is. Yeah. So strawberry milkshake IPA. What percentage was it? It was 4 point something.
4.5, I think.
For some reason, we moved the count to the other side of the room.
4.8.
4.8. So this has been released today as we do this, which is Friday. That beer's been released, and I'm a big fan of it. Actually, I really enjoyed it.
I kind of feel like I wish it would have been a month earlier. I think getting into
Proper summer
September,
kind of thing,
it's really summery. It is slightly sweet, but it's not that kind of sweet that you get from that feels sickly. It's not sickly sweet. It's got enough kind of malty and kind of hot character to it to kind of hold on to.
I think what it does for me is that obviously they have another strawberry beer in their range, don't they? The I Love You, Will You Marry Me?
Yeah.
Which is a strawberry blonde from memory. The last time I had that, which was at the Hallamshire House during the summer, might have been one of the days of tramlines, and I popped in there for a beer first. And that just tasted really weak now. It just tasted like the fruit style beers have moved on to be so much more powerful in terms of that fruit kind of profile, and that beer had just been left a little bit behind, and this seems to kind of pick up maybe where that had left off in terms of the fact that it's got some different characteristics going on. It's got a bit of an element of surprise to it. It's kind of it's a bit unusual. I don't think you necessarily want to drink 3 or 4 of them in a row. It's probably a really nice beer to have half of, maybe even a pint of, certainly a bottle of is spot on, and then you're probably ready for something a bit different.
After work or with your tea, maybe. I think that's a good one.
On the subject of moving on to something different, I mean, we have got this is an eclectic range of beers that we've got this evening. So we're going from strawberry milkshake IPA on to it's a Brew Dog beer, King of Eights, and this is version 4. It's the German hop edition.
I've got a fault with this. It doesn't specify what edition of what it is. It kind of assumes knowledge of what King of Eights is.
I mean, this is a great description. I'm going to read this on the back. So it's a duo of new German hops deliver massive tropical fruit notes with German efficiency. This European powerhouse of flavour visits New England with a cantaloupe, peach, mango, papaya, lime peel and kiwi. The full rounded texture is complemented with a smooth oatiness and a touch of alcohol warmth. I mean, there's a lot of very kind of key words in there, but this could be a really nice beer. It could be a real mess with just the amount of stuff that they're trying to do there. So it's like effectively a German style kind of fruity New England beer.
Apparently so.
And it's certainly 7.4. So it's certainly not on the weaker end of the scale.
This is the lowest. So basically, I got this. I'm one of these equity for punks sort of thing. I bought shares in them years ago. I don't really drink a lot of their beers anymore. I kind of don't really agree with everything they do anymore. But they offered this. They do this new subscription pack. I get 3 different beers every 2 weeks for £11.
Oh, the fanzine thing.
Yeah, fanzine. And they offered all their kind of shareholders a free one. So this is one of the cans from this month's one. So I had 2 other ones. One was a West Coast IPA, which I didn't rate at all. I'm a big fan of Jackhammer that they do. If a lot of people turn their nose up at Brew Dog, but if you get a bottle or a can of Jackhammer, like a 7.5% or something. Remember
it's one of the most unusual
we're drinking
smelling.
It up, but we have poured it into a strawberry.
It's got a little bit of strawberry milkshake kind of undertone going on. It's one of the most unusual smelling beers I've had for a while. Very odd.
It doesn't taste 7 and a bit. Perhaps.
Well, I don't know what I think about that. I think we need a couple of mouthfuls to kind of fully eradicate the strawberry milkshake to kind of get an idea as to what that.
So I'll talk about. I've had a bit of a Brew Dog week this week. I've actually had 5 free Brew Dog beers this week. So what was it last week where I was like, hey guys, there's a massive Brew Dog truck on Fargate, so massive in Sheffield city centre essentially. And they were just giving out free cans of Punk IPA. You had to stay in their little pen. But I remember just waiting for my wife stood there.
Free pint?
A can, sorry.
Sorry, right,
Can,
okay,
yeah.
can.
And I stood there and this guy came up to me and he's like, alright mate, a free can? And I went, I was just waiting for my wife, but I might in a minute. Have you heard of these guys? I'm like, yeah. So I got that one, and then a couple of days later I got the email saying I could have this 3-pack, and then this week they've done their annual bad beer amnesty. So essentially you go and take them a can of mass-produced lager, and they'll give you a pint of their mass-produced lager, which they've rebadged 4 times now. So
what do you get for free then? What's the...
You take a can of rubbish beer on that day,
right,
and they'll give you a pint of their, in quotes, new lager.
Which is what now? What
it's
is it?
called, do you know what, I didn't even look, but it's whatever was Kingpin, and before that was This Is Lager. It's the same strength, it's the same beer, they're just
I noticed that they brought out an indie pale ale,
that's
which
one
is
of the
now
worst.
being rebranded just indie.
It's terrible, honestly.
And it's very...
God.
It's very kind of watery.
I would say
very
it's worse than a can of Carling, that, honestly. And that was another one that they offered free when they brought it out. But but I'm not going to say no. I've had five free beers this week out of them. And this one actually is the best. I've had the other 2. This tastes the best. The other one was like 10% new Black Forest Stout. So I had that last night, and that was...
No, I don't. I've really bad memories of Black Forest Gasser from when I was quite young. I had a slice of a Black Forest Gasser and thought, well, this is absolutely amazing. So I ate the entire Black Forest Gasser, and I was ill for about 3 days. So the smell, any sort of Black Forest kind of, dark cherry kind of thing, just makes me feel a bit sick. So are you getting, and just say yes to, or no to any of these, Cantaloupe?
I don't know what that is, but...
It's a melon. Melon.
Not really.
Peach?
Not really.
Mango?
Maybe a little bit, if anything.
Papaya?
Same thing, isn't it?
Kiwi?
No.
Lime peel?
Lime peel? Oh, maybe.
See, I'm getting lime peel. Definitely.
It's quite a hoppy, quite clean beer, I think.
See, I would have said the opposite. I think it tastes a little bit mucky. I think it tastes a little bit like...
When I say clean,
just
I mean...
thrown a right load of stuff together. And I can't decide whether or not I actually like it. I'm not enjoying it.
It's got a nice...
It's not unpleasant.
It's got a mellow... It's not got a harsh bitterness, but it's got a really drinkable bitterness, I think. I think it kind of suits a lot of different palates, I think.
It's the kind of beer that you just want to put your arm around it and just say,
come on.
What are you trying to be? What are you? It's
version
alright, you can tell me. You can tell me, we're all friends.
So I'm assuming they didn't... 1, 2, 3 didn't run away from home.
This is kind of the problem with beer now, isn't it? Because everyone's trying to do something that no one else has done. That you end up making stuff that's so kind of... just throw random things together that sometimes they're just not quite going to work. And for me, this maybe just slightly falls into that category. But I feel really bad saying that because it's pleasant. I don't dislike it.
Yeah,
it's right. Just I don't fully understand what it is that I'm drinking.
What I would say is if you do like your Brew Dog, I mean, you can get it anywhere. You can get Punk IPA anywhere. It's somewhere between Punk IPA and Jackhammer, with a bit of muddiness to it. But I love Jackhammer. I think Jackhammer's a great beer. It's similar strength. I'd probably go find that you'll get it cheaper because you can get it from the supermarket. So.
We need to talk a little bit about beer festivals.
Beer festivals,
as we always do.
Yeah.
Certainly over the summer we've had a fair old chat about some of the stuff that's coming up. Most pressingly, Sheffield Beer Festival, which is coming up, I want to say second weekend of October, although it kind of starts midweek, starts kind of the
kind
Wednesday
of like the end of
that.
Yeah.
Which actually, let me look it up and I'll tell you the dates of it. So it starts on Wednesday the 10th of October. Now it's usual home of Kellam Museum. We are there on Monday the 8th of October to record the October Hopcast. It's not open to the public as such, but you can rent it out for kind of functions and stuff like that. So that's where we're doing the October Hopcast. More about that obviously in October. And hopefully we're going to have a fair old bit to do with the beer festival this year, which is great. there may be people that listen to this that are like, Camera. I think Sheffield Camera are great, and I really do. And you know, we've had a fair old bit of dealings with them. They did a lovely piece about us in the Beer Matters thing just a couple of weeks ago. Paul, who's the guy that is kind of the organiser of the beer festival, has been a real pleasure to deal with. They do feel like one of the more kind of open, sort of forward thinking, and I don't like really using that phrase, but you know what I mean, in terms of sort of cameras from up and down the country. There seems to be ones that are quite open to different ideas about what beer can be, and don't kind of point the finger and kind of condemn any one for liking any particular kind of beer. I need to mention that they are in desperate need of volunteers to work over the weekend. So there's a lot of perks with this. Mainly, and I'm not going to lie, the main perk being you get some free beer, which is great. You get a t-shirt as well, and a few other bits and bobs. And they're quite short shifts. I think they're only about 3 hours or so, particularly on the Friday and Saturdays when they're really in need of people to come forward. So if you're interested, then we will pop out a link when we publish this episode of the Halfpint. Get in touch with them. I'm actually seriously considering doing it, which would be unusual for me because I'm used to the Sheffield Beer Festival just being kind of like 3 or 4 days of just solid beer.
I thought you were going to say you're really work shy.
No, I actually quite like the idea of doing it. I quite like the idea of doing a couple of sessions. I think, you know, the thing that genuinely makes me nervous is the last time that I pulled a pint, I was 18, so it's 19 years ago.
Proper pint, like a proper cask pint, or just turned to tap?
I don't think I've ever poured a proper cask pint. I don't think I've pulled a proper pint before. Although I'd probably want to work on the keg bar. I think if I was gonna do one, that's the kind of the chicken way out of it. So that's going to be really, really good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to talk much more about that now because we've got a whole episode that's dedicated to the beer festival that's coming up. But please, if you kind of think, I quite fancy getting involved in that, please do. They're a great set of people at the Sheffield Camera, and they will definitely make it worth your while. Now you've been kind of looking at another beer festival as well.
Yeah, it was something that came out actually on social media today, which is from the Drumfield Three Valleys Festival, which is I think it's in June each year. Which is, I've been the last 2 years. First year, I absolutely loved it. It's like, imagine kind of the streets of Sheffield during tram lines, but just for people who are really into the beers. All the kind of ale pubs and stuff get involved, and they're all kind of outside bars, all sorts of stuff. There's free buses that are taking you all out to the outskirts and stuff. And essentially, they've announced today that it's basically not going to be happening next year. It looks like a load of red tape's been imposed on them because they're all basically volunteers, to a point where, from a safety and legal point of view, it's not reasonable or practical. They've basically put, which is a really disappointment. Last year I went and it was raining really heavily in the morning, and I come thinking, it's basically one day, a lot of it's outside, but luckily it cleared up by about midday, and a beautiful day again. And but they did say that because it's run through the Drumfield Camera, which is kind of I don't know if it's like North Derbyshire essentially, but stone's throw away from Sheffield. But they're now looking at doing their own little festival on the same weekend, run by Camera. So that's going to be including kind of up to 50 real ales, traditional ciders, food, entertainment, all under one roof. So I don't know if you follow those people or you're going to look them up, but maybe if you follow the Drumfield branch of Camera, there's probably some more information on that. I assume that this is kind of fresh news and they've probably not really thought too much about the ins and outs of it all, but real shame because that's one thing I really look forward to. So hopefully this new festival will be a reasonable replacement.
Absolutely. I'm going to mention one other beer festival, and I'm kind of breaking our own rules slightly here, talking about this because we tend to try and make the Halfpint quite Sheffield focused. But I'm off to the trade session at Indie Man for the first time. What's that, start of October, so I think that's probably the weekend before the Sheffield Beer Festival. So I'm looking forward to that. There's some really good beers there, and that should be top notch. Looking forward to that. And we've opened another beer.
We have.
I genuinely think when I was pouring this might be the darkest beer that I've ever actually seen. This is actual pitch black, this beer.
Yeah, very dark brown head on it as well, which you always know. It's actually the Brew Dog one I had last night when I poured it, and you get the kind of like a coffee coloured brown head on it. I think that's going to be really boozy, really like lots of stuff going off, whether it's balanced or not. Sometimes really not very balanced at all. Like, quite imbalanced. I imagine from Wylam that. Sorry, jumping the gun there, but.
No, I'm just going to mention back to when we did the first half pint, which was about 4 days long. And we did the I forgot what the
Powerhouse.
Northern Powerhouse series, and it was the kind of the imperial stout at the end that won it for us, wasn't it? This is probably not a dissimilar beer in a lot of ways, or certainly in terms of the kind of the branding of the beer. So it's Jekyll and Hyde, it's Wylam, and you can say this better than I can.
Brouwerij de Molen.
Brouwerij de Molen. Well, we'll take it.
Yeah, it's that brewing.
It's a collaboration beer, and it's a double stout porter. Now, I thought stouts and porters were just basically an interchangeable word for the same thing. However, this has taken both. So it's a double stout porter. It is 9.8%, so it's by far the strongest beer that we've had. Thank you very much to Honest Brew, who supplied us with this beer to try. And it looks amazing in the glass, absolutely amazing.
The head's disappeared. It doesn't. I'm not getting much aroma from it.
No, it's not.
Honest.
It doesn't have a strong smell.
Oh, that's very molassesy.
Oh yeah, that's very rich.
It's quite smooth. It's a little bit smoky almost. I think it's quite like it's smooth and smoky, but quite molasses kind of taste to it as well. It's got that Willamette again. But apparently, I think it's Willamette. I think it's a typo.
Willamette, yeah, that's what it was supposed to be.
This has got a typo as well. Someone needs to use Grammarly. Well,
we didn't pick it up until after we'd recorded it last time, did we? The fact that there were a variety of slight typo errors in a lot of the labelling on the cans for the Northern Powerhouse series. Which you think they'd have learned from, but evidently not, because the same typo is on this can. I don't know if I mentioned what it's called. Actually, it's called Jekyll and Hyde.
You did, yeah.
Did I?
You did, yeah.
It's 9.8%. I'm already forgetting whether I've spoke about it or not.
I've come across that brewery, the other brewery before. Is it one?
Yeah, we've done one on the main. Certainly a collaboration beer of theirs on the main.
Is it the one that did the very white label with lots of text on it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they did quite a few. I think Sean stocks quite a few of their beers, or certainly stock them from time to time over at Beer Central, and they do a lot of collaboration stuff in the UK. Yeah, I mean, this kind of style of these proper, really high ABV sort of imperial stouts, porters, whatever avenue they go down, are fairly commonplace these days. So you've got to do something pretty good, I think, to stand out. The Northern Powerhouse series one, I can't remember who it was
the Buxton one.
The Buxton one. That did it in absolute, masses. If you've listened to the last episode of the main Hopcast, you'll know that we did the
Omnipolo
Noah, and that was another one that it really stands out. Its flavouring just jumps out. It jumps out the glass without you even tasting it. You can smell it from an absolute mile off.
This is have you had St. Petersburg stout by? I think it's got that similar flavour profile to that, but I find them much sort of more sippable than quaffable sort of thing. Really, they're a little bit kind of not heavy, but they're quite strong flavour in the mouth. I think it's not something you can smash through. Whereas the Buxton one was more, and the Noah one, you got that kind of sort of sweeter, like creamier one. It felt like you were drinking. Like the bottom of a ice cream, like Ben and Jerry's.
You're right. Yeah. It had a real kind of sort of, was that kind of a nuttiness to it?
It's a pecan, wasn't it? They both did actually. They both had a bit of a nutty kind of profile to it.
This is more on the kind of the beery end of the scale, isn't it? It's not trying to kind of throw any kind of different flavours in. It is actually just a kind of a straight straight down the line. I can sort of see why they've called it a stout porter, because it is. It's not trying to be anything different. They've not thrown any kind of different flavourings in it. It is just what you would class as being a stout and or porter. Yeah.
I don't taste the alcohol though. I know sometimes you get a strong one. It just tastes really boozy. I don't think it's quite well balanced for it. I think it doesn't taste alcohol-y like it.
It doesn't. My question when I always kind of drink beers like that is, So why have they made it 9.8%? Does it need to be 9.8%?
Especially in a big can like that.
Is its actual flavouring that strong, that powerful that you think, it needs that sort of ABV percentage to kind of push the flavours that it pushes? Because to me, it just tastes like a good stout.
Yeah.
I'd imagine, from here, we're not far away from, there's a Sam Smith's pub around the corner, isn't there?
Brown Bear.
Yeah, we could go there and get a decent porter, a decent stout.
Probably, yeah.
And it'd be very enjoyable. I feel like I'm being really harsh this evening. I really do feel like I've been really harsh on the beers. But I just don't necessarily see what this has got over and above, other good stouts and porters. Unless you're someone that just really enjoys really strong beer.
I think in hindsight, I think maybe knock a couple of % off that at least. It doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. So it reminds me a lot of St Petersburg Stout, and that's 7.4. And I used to think when that were big 500ml bottles that I used to struggle with one of them. It just doesn't need a big. I mean, we've got a really big glass each, haven't we? We've shared a 440 can.
I'm getting a sort of
440.
It's 440, yeah. The more I drink it, I'm getting a sort of a treacly, caramelly kind of thing coming through a little bit stronger. And I sort of imagine if this, we kind of said that maybe Fraser had come out a month late. Maybe this has just come out kind of 2 or 3 months early.
Yeah.
If this was like a bonfire night, you kind of, you huddled around a bonfire with your friends, you've smuggled a can in, and this is it. It has got that kind of bonfire toffee, sort of, caramel-esque tone going on.
Yeah. I was trying to. My dad asked me about the Noah. He's like, "What's this beer you were banging on about on the last podcast?" And I said, "Oh, it's Omnipolo Noah." So it's 11%, and it's about 10 quid. It's like, oh no. And honestly, like I said, get toward Christmas, you could, get a bit of cold weather. It's a sharer of that. I think maybe this is definitely a sharer. I won't want to.
Where do you stand on the social responsibility of giving someone a beer but not telling them how strong it is? is that socially acceptable or not? Where you just say, "I'll just pour it for you," and you pour it for them, because they wouldn't.
Depends.
I mean, Noah, maybe you would know with Noah, because I think I felt that it did carry its percentage.
Yeah, I was saying I could feel that like burn in my stomach.
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends if they drive it home after.
In which case, very, very socially irresponsible.
Yeah,
very socially.
Just have a sip, or probably just smell it. If anything.
We have got one other thing that we're going to talk about, and that is the Good Beer Guide, which has been announced in the last couple of days, and some big wins for some of our local
I suppose
local favourites.
Well, I suppose we're quite a big, because it's a camera-based thing. We're quite a big cask. I've not looked at it for a few years, but I think they've been announced in the last day or so. So I think people who've been added to it have probably had it in the post today. And one good, not pleasant suppliers because they're good, but bar stewards are now in it. And for someone who's very kind of craft heavy, I think that's a good win. I think really.
But they've maintained their kind of cask presence, haven't they? Yeah. And you're right. They're a place that you go, particularly since they've got the kind of the fridge in there, and they've got some really good cans and bottles in. It is a place that you kind of think of as going to for like a what we would call as a craft beer. But I think I've seen people go in there before and drink 3 or 4 pints in a row of the same cask beer.
Yeah, it's really good.
It ticks that box I think for those people that want that slightly more traditional.
Absolutely, they've always had a good range. They always try and get a bit of a gluten-free one on where possible, which is great as well, because most of these beers don't really taste any different. But the other one, which is they tweeted about today, is the Hillsborough Hotel, which is a pub I used to frequent often. And for people who don't know, they used to have a little brewery underneath it called Crown Brewery, which is where Stuart Ross, who was the head brewer at Magic Rock, were brewing for a long time. And if you imagine, that must have been a small brewery because it's a small pub and it was underneath it.
Can they claim the title of being like the birthplace of Magic Rock then?
Well, he went from there. That's the last place he was.
Yeah, in which case they can then. Yeah.
Can they put the blue plaques on the wall, a bit like the Beatles?
I think they should change all their branding to being just slightly like the Magic Rock branding, but just ever so slightly different for legal reasons.
Well, unfortunately, after Stu left and. I think the landlady started brewing herself a little bit, and no offence, but it was, I think it changed its name to Wood Street for a while, and then they ended up ripping the brewery out. So it's only in the last year or so where it's actually started to actually find its feet again as a proper good cask. I mean, it's pretty much 100% cask, but I think they've got probably at least eight cask beers on, and I think they really pride themselves in getting local stuff on as well as, you know, from further far. And the times I've been in, maybe for a football match, something, you know, it's on the tram line. You can get off at Langsett Primrose View, I think, and it's a couple of minutes from there. Go and give it a try. A little, you know, the place does a good quiz as well there, so I think I want to try and get there a bit more than I.
I've got to confess I've never been in.
Oh man,
I feel awful for that.
There you go.
Because, you know, match day obviously is a. Anyone that doesn't know, both me and Adam are Wednesday fans. It's just quite far out of the way, isn't it? But I hear that there's quite a few sort of away fans that tend to go in there because they jump off the tram. You'd have to know about it to end up going there. You wouldn't just stumble across it. So people that kind of know, you can get off the tram, you can go there as long as you're back on the tram within, like, what is it, an hour, then your ticket's still valid.
And it's
so if you get it on day,
it's only 2 or 3 stops to Hillsborough.
Or you could just maybe, there's a decent route there, isn't it? You could do that and then kind of walk down to New Barrack Tavern and then down into Hillsborough after that. So I should probably give it. I think
everyone should give it a try. Like it's not like a hotel as you would imagine. It's kind of a B&B. It's like a pub with a B&B, and it always used to really good food and stuff as well. It's got a nice conservatory in the back. It's a good place to go and have a just a cheeky pint. Like I said, if you're going down to the Hillsborough or you're going the other way, you know, there's always good bus routes and the tram. So I'll give it. Go and check it out.
So Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, it's not my favourite. I like it.
As we've been drinking it more, I've got a little bit more into it. I think you summed it up pretty well, kind of right at the start, in terms of the fact it's the molasses that really come through. It has got a bit of a treacly kind of thing. In fact, just watching you there take a sip out of it, and the way that it really clings to the glass on the way down. It's
made my glass look kind of
the
yellow.
opposite of full fat milk. It's like, we know that full fat milk kind of clings to the glass after you've drunk it, and that image makes me feel a little bit nauseous of the thing about milk. So this is like the opposite end of that scale. It's certainly not a bad beer. I wouldn't go out of my way to
pick another one up
to get hold of it again. I do find what I like, and I will give them obviously the benefit of the doubt in this sense. Wylam are great at pushing the boundaries a bit. You know, I think we both, certainly this year, we've both had a good 3, 4, 5 Wylam beers that we've actually messaged each other about to kind of say this has been really, really good.
Yeah, I had to stop making it my beer of the month because I think it was almost like 3 or 4 on the route, and I'm not on the next Hopcast, but it would definitely be a collaborate.
Oh yeah, the Whiplash.
Well, as I'm not on it, my beer of the month is Whiplash and Wylam. Do you want to touch me? I think it's called. It's beautiful. If anybody heard us bang on about Abbeydale Hook still last month, imagine putting another couple of percent, about 2.5% on top of that, but it's still drinking exactly the same. Absolutely phenomenal. Whiplash are an Irish brewery. I think I did one of their small beers off of my beer of the month as well. I keep trying to get Sean to stock them, and he said he might just start looking at it now. So it is on his supply list.
Yeah. We need to put some pressure on him.
Yeah, good try. Every one of that have been absolutely brilliant. So you should just look at them on. The white can, really kind of nice font on it, really kind of basic looking. But go and look for one of their beers.
I was in Ireland earlier in the year and had kind of a few over there. Although actually, you know, they've become much more widespread here. I was actually in Liverpool at the weekend and it might even have been the same beer.
Could have been,
but I can't remember what it was. But I know it was a double IPA. It was very, very nice in Liverpool. So yeah, definitely a brewery to look up.